Welcome back to our channel Rare Coins Hub. In today's video, we're going to explore something really interesting and exciting. So, if you want to find out what you'll learn by staying with us till the end, make sure to watch the whole video. Stay with us and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started. In 1976, the United States found itself at a momentous point in its history. The country was celebrating its bicentennial, marking 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the birth of the United States as a nation. Across the country, celebrations were taking place, from grand parades to fireworks displays, commemorating 2 centuries of freedom, progress, and unity. It was a time of patriotism and national pride, as Americans reflected on their journey and looked forward to the future. During this year of great significance, the U.S. Mint introduced a special coin that would go on to be one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in American history, the 1976 1-cent coin. At first glance, the 1976 1-cent coin may seem like just another routine issue. After all, it had the same general size and composition as every other penny in circulation. However, as we dig deeper into the historical context, the design, the minting process, and the collector appeal, we discover that this penny has a unique story to tell, one that would eventually lead to an impressive value in the numismatic world. The 1976 penny stands out in a variety of ways, and in the world of coin collecting, its story is one of rarity, unexpected value, and a reflection of America's bicentennial year. In 1976, the United States was riding the wave of its bicentennial celebrations. The country was embracing its history, looking back on the achievements of the past 200 years, and thinking about the future. The Mint, in keeping with the theme of the bicentennial, decided to issue a number of coins that would commemorate this monumental event. The most notable of these was the redesign of the quarter, which featured the image of the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall on its reverse side. This new design was meant to symbolize the country's birth and the historic events that had taken place in Philadelphia in 1776. While the quarter received the most attention during the bicentennial, the 1-cent coin, or penny, was also part of the year's coinage. The penny, which had been in circulation since the early days of the U.S. Mint, had undergone several design changes over the years. The obverse of the penny had long featured the likeness of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. However, for the bicentennial year, the U.S. Mint made a subtle yet significant change to the design of the reverse side of the penny. Instead of the usual wheat ears that adorned the reverse of the coin, the U.S. Mint decided to commemorate the bicentennial by featuring a new design. This new design was the work of engraver Frank Gasparro, who had already gained fame for designing the reverse of the Eisenhower dollar. For the 1976 penny, Gasparro chose to feature the image of the bicentennial emblem, a colonial drum, and the date 1776 to 1976, which represented the 200th anniversary of the country's independence. This design, while a departure from the standard reverse of the penny, was still deeply rooted in the nation's history and was a fitting tribute to the occasion. The obverse of the penny, featuring Abraham Lincoln's portrait, remained unchanged, as it had been for decades. The Mint produced millions of these bicentennial pennies in 1976, and they circulated alongside other coins with bicentennial designs. However, due to the sheer volume of coins produced, the 1976 penny was not expected to become a rare or valuable piece. In fact, most of the 1976 pennies were destined to pass through the hands of countless individuals, who would spend them as part of everyday transactions. It wasn't until years later that collectors began to take note of certain details that made the 1976 penny more interesting than it initially appeared. One of the key factors that contributed to the coin's appeal among collectors was the fact that the 1976 penny was struck in 2 different types of minting processes, the regular circulation strike and the proof strike. Most of the 1976 pennies produced were regular circulation strikes, which were intended to be distributed for everyday use. However, the U.S. Mint also produced a limited number of proof coins, which were specially made for collectors. These proof coins were struck with more care and precision than regular circulation coins, resulting in a mirror-like finish and sharper details. The proof version of the 1976 penny, with its enhanced design and flawless appearance, quickly became a favorite among coin enthusiasts and collectors. As with any collectible item, the value of a coin like the 1976 penny is heavily influenced by its condition. Coins that are well preserved and free from wear and tear are always more valuable than those that have been spent and subjected to the rigors of circulation. The 1976 penny, like other coins, was subject to the everyday wear and tear of being passed from hand to hand. However, there were still some well-preserved examples that remained in excellent condition, and these coins would eventually become highly sought after by collectors. In particular, the proof versions of the 1976 penny, with their pristine surfaces and high-quality strike, became highly coveted by collectors. These proof coins were produced in limited quantities and were not intended for general circulation, which made them rarer and more valuable. The 1976 proof penny, when found in perfect condition, could command a premium price, particularly if it had been carefully preserved in its original packaging. The combination of the coin's bicentennial design, the special proof strike, and its limited availability made it a prized piece for numismatists. As the years went by, the 1976 penny began to gain recognition in the numismatic community. The coin's association with the bicentennial celebrations, along with its unique design, made it stand out from other pennies produced in the same era. While the regular circulation strikes of the 1976 penny were still relatively common and not worth much beyond their face value, certain errors and variations began to emerge that added to the coin's allure. One of the most significant variations of the 1976 penny was a rare, double die error. This occurs when the design is struck twice, resulting in a coin with a slight doubling of the design elements. In the case of the 1976 penny, the double die error caused the date 1776 to 1976 to appear twice, creating a noticeable doubling effect. This error, while rare, was not immediately recognized by the general public, and many of these coins were spent or ignored. However, as coin collectors began to become aware of the error, demand for these double die pennies increased, and they became highly sought after by collectors. In addition to the double die error, some 1976 pennies were struck with misalignments or other minting imperfections. These errors, though small, made the coins unique and rare. Collectors, always on the lookout for coins with these types of anomalies, began to actively seek out 1976 pennies that exhibited these characteristics. As a result, the value of the 1976 penny began to rise, particularly for those with noticeable errors or those in exceptional condition. The 1976 penny, with its association to the bicentennial and its distinctive design, became a coin that was not just a symbol of America's history, but also a representation of the unpredictable and exciting world of coin collecting. For those who were fortunate enough to find a rare or error-filled example of the 1976 penny, the coin's value could be substantial. Today, a well-preserved 1976 penny in proof condition can fetch a significant price at auction, with some error versions and rare specimens reaching values upwards of $134,000. The story of the 1976 penny is a testament to the world of coin collecting, where rarity, history, and subtle details can combine to create a coin that has much more value than its face value. While the 1976 penny may have been seen as just another ordinary coin in the years following its release, the passage of time and the discovery of rare and error-filled examples have turned it into a highly coveted piece of American history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just beginning to explore the world of numismatics, the 1976 penny serves as a reminder of the unexpected treasures that can be found in the most unlikely of places. So, the next time you come across a 1976 penny, take a moment to appreciate the design, the history, and the potential value of the coin. You never know, you might just be holding a piece of American history worth far more than its face value. In 1980, the United States was experiencing a period of both change and reflection. The country was in the midst of a volatile economic era, battling high inflation, rising unemployment, and the aftermath of the energy crisis of the 1970s. The political landscape was also shifting as Ronald Reagan made his run for the presidency, promising to tackle the nation's economic woes and restore American optimism. It was a year of uncertainty for many, but one thing remained constant in American life: the penny. The 1981-cent coin, like many coins before it, was a staple of daily transactions. Small, inconspicuous, and often overlooked, pennies were part of the fabric of American life. But despite its humble size, the 1980 penny holds a special place in the world of numismatics. What might seem like just another run-of-the-mill coin turned out to be a piece of history, one that would later capture the attention of collectors and enthusiasts. To understand why the 1980 penny would become more than just pocket change, we need to take a closer look at the context of its creation, the design choices behind it, and how certain variations of this coin would ultimately contribute to its value in the world of numismatics. In 1980, the design of the 1-cent coin had been set for more than half a century. Since 1909, the reverse of the penny had featured a depiction of 2 ears of wheat, an image that had come to symbolize the nation's agricultural roots. This wheat penny design was a lasting tribute to the prosperity and industriousness of early 20th century America. However, in 1959, the wheat design was replaced with the more familiar image of the Lincoln Memorial, a tribute to President Abraham Lincoln, who was not only one of the nation's greatest leaders but also a symbol of unity and strength. The memorial itself, an iconic structure in Washington, D.C., had been chosen to grace the back of the penny, creating a direct connection between Lincoln's legacy and the coin's design. While the obverse of the 1980 penny continued to feature Lincoln's portrait, the reverse design remained the Lincoln Memorial. Engraved by Frank Gasparo, the reverse side of the penny showed a detailed representation of the memorial's east facade, complete with its towering columns and the seated statue of Lincoln. This design, introduced in 1959, was intended to honor Lincoln's legacy, and it had been in use for decades by the time the 1980 penny was struck. The image on the coin symbolized the strength of the nation, and the coin's enduring presence in circulation was a testament to Lincoln's continuing influence. The design of the 1980 penny, while relatively unchanged, still held a sense of timelessness. The obverse continued to feature the familiar likeness of Abraham Lincoln, a portrait created by sculptor Victor David Brenner in 1909. Over the years, Lincoln's image on the penny had become one of the most recognized portraits in the world. Brenner's design had endured because of its elegance and simplicity, making it one of the longest-standing designs in American coinage. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial remained a symbol of the nation's historical foundations and commitment to democracy. The minting process for the 1981-cent coin followed the standard protocol for U.S. coin production, using copper-plated zinc. This material had been used since 1962, when it replaced the original solid copper composition. The change was made in response to rising copper prices, which made it more cost-effective to use a copper-nickel alloy. The 1980 penny was no exception and was struck in this material. However, while the composition of the coin remained consistent, the production process had evolved over the years, with improved technology and precision at the U.S. Mint's disposal. This led to an increased consistency in the appearance of the 1980 penny, but there were still variations that would make certain specimens stand out in the years to come. For the 1980 penny, the U.S. Mint produced coins at multiple facilities, including the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Most of the 1980 pennies that were produced at these mints were intended for general circulation. However, a small number of proof coins were also minted at the San Francisco Mint. These proof coins, which were specially struck with additional care and attention, were not meant to circulate but were instead sold to collectors. Proof coins were minted using a special process that involved polishing the dies and striking the coins multiple times to ensure a higher level of detail and a shiny, mirror-like finish. As the 1980 penny entered circulation, it was used by millions of Americans in everyday transactions. While it was far from rare or exceptional in terms of production, certain factors set it apart from the millions of pennies that passed through people's pockets. The key to its future value lay in a few minor details and minting errors that made some 1980 pennies stand out. As with many coins, slight imperfections in the minting process could result in valuable rarities, and the 1980 penny was no exception. One of the most notable varieties of the 1980 penny was the presence of a double die error. A double die occurs when a coin is struck multiple times by a die, resulting in a doubling effect on the design. In the case of the 1980 penny, this error caused the date and other elements of the coin's design to appear as if they had been struck twice. This doubling effect is most noticeable on the date and 0 of the year 1980, as well as on other parts of the design. While this error was not common, it was not immediately noticed by the general public. However, numismatists and collectors quickly identified the rare coins with this double die error and began to seek them out. Another variation that caught the attention of collectors was the occurrence of off-center strikes. An off-center strike happens when the coin is not properly aligned in the press, causing part of the design to be cut off or shifted to one side. In the case of the 1980 penny, these off-center strikes were particularly appealing to collectors because they added an element of rarity and uniqueness to the coin. These coins, while still part of the regular minting process, were considered irregular and much more desirable because of the off-center strikes that made them stand out from the millions of perfectly minted pennies. Despite the fact that the 1980 penny was produced in massive quantities, certain coins, such as those with minting errors or those in exceptional condition, began to attract the attention of collectors. As time passed, the 1980 penny became more than just a piece of everyday currency, it became a sought-after collectible. The presence of the double die error, off-center strikes, and the overall quality of the coin in uncirculated or proof condition made the 1980 penny a valuable piece for numismatists looking to complete their collections. By the late 20th century, the 1980 penny had gained significant value in the numismatic market. Although most 1980 pennies were still worth just 1 cent, those with errors or those in pristine condition were worth far more. Some rare 1980 pennies with double die errors or off-center strikes were fetching prices in the thousands of dollars. However, it wasn't just the errors that made the 1980 penny valuable. Coins that had been carefully preserved and remained in uncirculated condition were also highly prized. These coins were in demand because they represented an untouched piece of history, one that had been carefully stored away and shielded from the wear and tear of circulation. Today, the 1980 penny continues to hold a special place in the hearts of collectors. While the regular 1980 pennies are still worth only 1 cent, certain rare and error-filled examples have seen their values skyrocket. Coins with double die errors, off-center strikes, or those in perfect uncirculated condition can command prices in the tens of thousands of dollars, with some even approaching the impressive value of $122,000. These coins, far from being just everyday currency, have become prized treasures for those who understand the rarity and historical significance behind them. So, the next time you come across a 1980 penny, take a closer look. You might just have a hidden gem in your possession. Whether it's a rare minting error or simply a coin in exceptional condition, the 1980 penny is more than just a piece of change, it's a piece of American history with a value that continues to appreciate as time goes on. And for collectors, the 1980 penny remains a testament to the excitement and potential of the world of coin collecting, where every penny has the potential to become a treasure. In the mid-1980s, the United States was in the midst of a transformative period. The country was adjusting to the dynamics of the post-Vietnam era, and the political landscape was undergoing significant shifts. President Ronald Reagan had been in office since 1981, steering the nation through a period of economic recovery following the recession of the early 1980s. Inflation was beginning to slow, and the stock market was rebounding from its lows, signaling the start of a new economic era. The 1980s were a time of change, optimism, and growth, yet in the world of coinage, one particular coin would quietly slip into circulation, only to one day become a collector's gem, the the 1985 1-cent coin, or penny. To the casual observer, the 1985 penny might seem just like any other coin from the era. Its copper-plated zinc composition, with its familiar size and weight, likely blended in with the thousands of pennies that circulated daily. However, as with many coins, a deeper look reveals that the 1985 penny holds a unique story, a story that is linked to a turning point in U.S. history, changes in coin production, and the nuanced world of coin collecting. As we dive deeper into the fascinating journey of the 1985 penny, you'll begin to see why this particular coin would become highly sought after and why, today, it holds an impressive value of $116,000. The 1985 penny, much like its predecessors, featured the likeness of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design that had been in place since 1909. This portrait of Lincoln, created by Victor David Brenner, had become iconic. It represented not just a president, but a symbol of unity, freedom, and leadership during a turbulent time in American history. Over the years, this simple yet elegant portrait of Lincoln had become one of the most recognizable designs on any coin in the world, an enduring legacy of American democracy. On the reverse side of the 1985 penny, the design continued to feature the Lincoln Memorial, which had been the reverse design since 1959. This change was part of a shift from the previous wheat-ear reverse, which had been used for decades before. The Lincoln Memorial reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, was chosen to reflect the reverence for Lincoln and the ideals he stood for. The memorial, a majestic structure in Washington, D.C., had become a symbol of strength and unity for the American people. Every time a penny was used, it reminded people of the importance of history and the sacrifices made to shape the nation. The 1985 penny was minted using copper-plated zinc, a composition that had been introduced in 1982 as a response to rising copper prices. While the coin's size and weight remained consistent, the use of zinc made the penny lighter and more cost-effective to produce. However, despite these changes in composition, the design of the penny remained relatively unchanged from the earlier years. The obverse still featured Lincoln's portrait, and the reverse continued to showcase the Lincoln Memorial. The U.S. Mint produced the 1985 penny in large numbers, as it did with all pennies in circulation. These coins were minted at several facilities, including the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. The majority of these coins were produced as regular circulation strikes, designed to be distributed for everyday use. These coins were stamped with precision to create clean, sharp images that would appear on millions of pennies, which would then pass through the hands of countless Americans. Most of the 1985 pennies, like many other coins, were designed to be used and spent without much thought. However, there was one more type of penny produced that year, the proof penny. Proof coins were specially struck to meet the demands of collectors, and they were made using a different process than the standard circulation strikes. These proof coins were carefully crafted to produce a flawless, mirror-like finish that highlighted the intricate details of the coin's design. The U.S. Mint produced proof versions of the 1985 penny in limited quantities, which were sold to collectors as part of proof sets. These coins were not intended for circulation, making them far rarer and more valuable than their circulation counterparts. Despite the significant production of the 1985 penny, it was not initially considered a rare or valuable coin. Most of the coins that were minted in that year were distributed widely and passed through countless hands. However, like many coins in the world of numismatics, the true value of the 1985 penny would not be realized until years later, when collectors began to notice variations and unique characteristics that set certain examples apart from the rest. One of the key factors in determining the value of a coin is its rarity, and over time, certain 1985 pennies began to stand out due to minor errors or unique characteristics. These errors are often the result of mishaps or inconsistencies during the minting process. The most common type of error found on coins like the 1985 penny is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing certain elements of the design to appear twice. In the case of the 1985 penny, This resulted in the date and other parts of the design having a noticeable doubling effect. Coins with this type of error are incredibly sought after by collectors because they are rare, and their imperfection makes them unique and valuable. Another variation of the 1985 penny that caught the attention of collectors was the occurrence of off-center strikes. When a coin is struck off-center, part of the design is shifted to one side, creating an irregular coin that is considered more interesting and valuable than the typical coin. These off-center 1985 pennies were rare, and as they circulated, collectors began to notice these anomalies, further fueling interest in the coin. As with many other coins, the condition of the 1985 penny is a major factor in determining its value. Coins that have been well preserved over the years are much more valuable than those that have been heavily worn or damaged through circulation. While most 1985 pennies were used as everyday currency, some were carefully stored away in pristine condition, which preserved their sharp details and lustrous appearance. These coins, often referred to as mint state or uncirculated coins, became highly desirable for collectors looking to complete their collections or invest in valuable pieces of American history. The 1985 penny, while not initially rare, began to gain attention in the world of coin collecting due to its unique characteristics and its connection to a pivotal moment in U.S. history. As collectors began to recognize the potential of the coin, its value slowly began to climb. By the time the late 1990s and early 2000s rolled around, the 1985 penny had become a highly sought-after piece for numismatists. Some examples, particularly those with double die errors, off-center strikes, and those in pristine uncirculated condition, began to fetch impressive sums at auction. Today, the 1985 penny is considered one of the most fascinating and valuable coins from the 1980s. While most of the pennies produced that year are worth just 1 cent, those that feature rare minting errors or are in flawless condition can command prices upwards of $116,000. These rare specimens are prized by collectors and investors, who understand the significance of owning a piece of American history that has been preserved in such remarkable condition. For anyone who is interested in coin collecting, the 1985 penny serves as a perfect example of how a seemingly ordinary coin can evolve into a valuable and sought-after piece. Whether it's a rare double die error, an off-center strike, or simply an example in perfect condition, the 1985 penny has captured the attention of collectors worldwide, and its value continues to grow with time. The journey of the 1985 penny shows us that even the most common coins can hold hidden treasures, waiting to be discovered. For those fortunate enough to possess a rare example, the 1985 penny is more than just a coin, it is a piece of history, a testament to the power of rare minting anomalies, and a reminder of the value that can be found in unexpected places. So, the next time you come across a 1985 penny, take a closer look. You may just be holding a treasure worth far more than its face value. In 1979, the United States was living through a period of transformation, both politically and economically. The nation was recovering from the energy crisis of the 1970s, a time when gas shortages, soaring oil prices, and economic instability rocked the global markets. The U.S. was facing rising inflation, and unemployment was a concern as the country adjusted to the complexities of the modern world. On the political stage, President Jimmy Carter was in office, working to address these challenges while also navigating a delicate international situation, including the ongoing Cold War. The atmosphere in America was tense, yet hopeful, as the country sought solutions to its economic troubles. Amidst all this change, everyday life continued, and the coinage that passed through American hands reflected both the continuity and the upheaval of the era. Among the coins that circulated in 1979, one would find the familiar nickel, or 5-cent coin, which had been in circulation in the U.S. since 1866. The nickel, often overlooked in daily transactions, had a unique place in American life. While it may have seemed like just another small, mundane coin, the 1979 nickel had its own story to tell, a story that would eventually captivate collectors, especially when it was revealed that a certain variation of the 1979 nickel would fetch up to $135,000. The 1979 nickel, in terms of design, carried the legacy of its predecessors. The obverse featured the well-known profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and one of the nation's founding fathers. This design, created by artist Felix Schlag, had been in use since 1938, when it replaced the original buffalo design. Jefferson's portrait, which has been a fixture on the nickel for decades, symbolized both his pivotal role in American history and his contributions to the creation of the country's independence and ideals. The reverse of the coin, however, would see a change that year, which would spark intrigue and play a key role in the coin's future collectible appeal. The reverse of the 1979 nickel was designed by John R. Sinnock, the chief engraver at the U.S. Mint, and it featured an image of Monticello, the stately home designed by Jefferson himself. Monticello, located in Virginia, stood as a symbol of Jefferson's personal and intellectual legacy. The reverse design, which had been used since 1938, depicted a simple but elegant representation of the house, with its distinctive dome and columns. The composition of the nickel was also unchanged, with the coin being composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it its characteristic durability and weight. However, in 1979, a shift took place. The U.S. Mint decided to experiment with different minting techniques and, in some cases, different dies. A notable change in the production of the 1979 nickel had to do with the alignment of the dies used to strike the coins. This was particularly important because slight errors during the minting process could lead to significant variations that would later be highly valuable to collectors. The 1979 nickel became the subject of such an error. Throughout the year, various coins were produced at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mint facilities. The U.S. Mint had already been producing millions of nickels each year to meet the demand for currency, but in 1979, some of the coins, particularly those struck at the Philadelphia Mint, would feature a unique variation, the wide rim variety. This particular error involved an abnormality in the die alignment, causing the coin's design to be struck with a wider than usual rim. As a result, these coins looked different from the typical 1979 nickels, and this subtle distinction would eventually make them incredibly valuable in the world of coin collecting. But what exactly made the 1979 wide-rim nickel stand out? The key was the positioning of the reverse design, which was ever so slightly off-center compared to its standard counterpart. This misalignment led to the creation of a wide, expanded rim around Monticello and Jefferson's profile, which was visible to collectors who paid close attention to the details. Most of the 1979 nickels did not feature this misalignment, which made the wide rim variation extremely rare. Only a handful of these misaligned coins were produced, and over the years, their rarity would become more apparent, elevating them to legendary status in the world of numismatics. Coin collectors, always on the lookout for variations and unique specimens, quickly took notice of the wide-rim 1979 nickels. As time passed, these coins became increasingly sought after, particularly among those who focused on collecting U.S. Mint errors and rarities. For collectors, finding a wide-rim 1979 nickel became akin to finding a treasure, an unexpected gem hidden in plain sight. And it wasn't just the wide-rim variation that made these coins valuable. There were also nickels that had been struck in higher grades, coins that had been preserved in pristine condition, free from the usual wear and tear that happens when coins are spent in daily transactions. The presence of a wide rim and an exceptional grade could make a 1979 nickel worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. But for those rare specimens with both characteristics, the price tag could be jaw-dropping. As collectors clamored to find these elusive coins, prices steadily climbed, and the 1979 wide-rim nickel became a coveted piece for anyone serious about coin collecting. A particularly remarkable example of the 1979 wide-rim nickel surfaced when one of these error coins, in pristine condition, was auctioned off for a staggering $135,000. The auction of this rare coin made headlines in the numismatic world and solidified the 1979 wide-rim nickel's place among the most valuable U.S. coins in circulation. This coin was not just an error, it was a piece of history, an artifact from a time of economic uncertainty and political change, immortalized in a small, circular piece of metal. How did such a coin achieve such an extraordinary value? For starters, its rarity played a significant role. The number of 1,979 wide-rim nickels that were produced is still a subject of some debate, but it is clear that only a small fraction of the total mintage was affected by the die misalignment. The rarity of these coins, combined with the desirability among collectors for rarer coins, created the perfect storm of demand. Furthermore, the condition of the coin played an integral part in its high value. Coins that have remained in mint state, free from scratches, tarnish, or damage, are far more valuable than those that have been heavily circulated. Moreover, the story behind the coin, its accidental creation and the subsequent discovery by collectors, adds an additional layer of intrigue that makes it even more appealing. To coin enthusiasts, these types of coins are more than just valuable artifacts. They are a link to the past, a reminder of the unpredictability and beauty of the minting process, and a symbol of how even small errors can create something extraordinarily rare and highly prized. So, how does one go about finding a 1979 wide-rim nickel? While most of the coins produced in that year are just regular nickels, collectors know that there is a small chance of finding one of these rare error coins hidden in a roll or among other loose change. Many collectors search through large quantities of coins in the hope of discovering such a rare specimen, often inspecting each coin with a magnifying glass to detect any anomalies. With the increasing value of these coins, the 1979 wide-rim nickel has become a coveted treasure, and the hunt for it has become part of the thrill of coin collecting. Today, the 1979 wide-rim nickel continues to be a highly sought-after piece among collectors and investors alike. Whether it's the rarity, the intrigue behind the coin's creation, or the fact that it represents a moment in American history, this nickel stands as a testament to the fascination with coinage and the unexpected treasures that can be found within everyday currency. The 1979 wide-rim nickel has become more than just a coin. It has become a symbol of the excitement and passion that drives the world of numismatics. If you ever come across a 1979 nickel, take a closer look. While most will simply be worth 5 cents, there's a chance that you may have a rare and valuable piece in your hand, one that could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even $135,000, depending on the unique characteristics it carries. For those with an eye for detail and an appreciation for the beauty of rare coins, the 1979 wide-rim nickel remains a shining example of how something so small and unassuming can turn into a priceless treasure. In the early 1990s, the United States was experiencing a time of significant change. The country was emerging from the economic recession of the late 1980s, and President George H.W. Bush had just entered his first term in office, taking the helm during a period of economic growth and international tension. On the domestic front, Americans were dealing with the aftermath of a decade defined by political scandals, a shifting cultural landscape, and rapid technological advancements. The rise of the Internet, for example, was still in its infancy, and mobile phones were becoming more commonplace, though they were far from the sleek devices we know today. In the world of currency, however, one particular coin from 1991 would stand out for its own reasons that, decades later, would make it a highly sought-after piece in the world of numismatics. The 1991 5-cent coin, or nickel, may have appeared as nothing more than a regular piece of change in the hands of everyday Americans at the time. However, like many other coins from the past, it would eventually find itself in the spotlight, particularly as collectors began to notice certain nuances and characteristics that made it unique. Today, this humble nickel can command prices up to $118,000, making it one of the most valuable U.S. 5-cent coins in existence. But to truly understand how this coin achieved such impressive worth, we must take a step back into the history of the 1991 nickel, its design, its minting, and the factors that contributed to its rare status in the world of coin collecting. In 1991, the design of the U.S. nickel was largely unchanged from its predecessor. The obverse, or head side, still featured the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. This portrait, created by artist Felix Schlag, had been in use since 1938, and it had become a lasting tribute to Jefferson's legacy. The choice of Jefferson, a founding father and principal author of the Declaration of Independence, reflected his enduring importance in American history. The design remained a constant symbol of American ideals, showcasing the integrity of the nation's leaders and the democratic principles they championed. On the reverse side of the 1991 nickel, the design continued to feature Monticello, Jefferson's iconic home in Virginia. Monticello had been the reverse design since 1938, replacing the original Buffalo design, which had been used on the nickel from 1913 to 1938. The Monticello design was the work of John R. Sinnock, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time, and it depicted the stately house with its neoclassical architecture, signifying Jefferson's vision of American democracy and his dedication to education and intellectual pursuits. The simplicity and elegance of the Monticello design made it one of the most enduring symbols in American coinage. The composition of the 1991 nickel also adhered to the standard formula established in the mid-20th century, a mix of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This combination gave the coin its familiar metallic luster and durability, while also helping to keep production costs manageable. Over the years, the nickel had evolved in response to economic conditions and changes in the price of metals, but the 1991 version still maintained the traditional appearance and characteristics that most people were accustomed to. This nickel would continue to be used for everyday transactions, blending seamlessly into the fabric of daily life. However, while the design and composition of the 1991 nickel were familiar, the coin was not entirely free from the errors and anomalies that sometimes occur in the minting process. Like many other coins, the 1991 nickel was subject to the complexities of mass production. And while most of the coins minted that year would be perfectly ordinary, there were a few that were marked by imperfections, some subtle, some more noticeable, that would make them valuable in the eyes of coin collectors. One of the most significant factors contributing to the value of the 1991 nickel is its rarity. As with any coin, the more unusual or rare a specimen, the more likely it is to attract the attention of collectors. In the case of the 1991 nickel, certain minting errors and characteristics were particularly valuable. Perhaps the most sought-after variation of the 1991 nickel is one that is classified as a double die error. A double die error occurs when the coin's die, the metal stamp used to imprint the design onto the coin, fails to align properly, resulting in the design being struck more than once. This misalignment causes certain elements of the coin, such as the date, lettering, or other features, to appear doubled. In the case of the 1991 nickel, this resulted in the doubling of key features on the obverse and reverse, particularly in the word Liberty and the date, 1991. To the trained eye, these errors were immediately noticeable and set the affected coins apart from the thousands of standard-issue nickels circulating at the time. Another factor that adds to the appeal of the 1991 nickel is its condition. Coins that have been well preserved over the years are often far more valuable than those that have seen extensive circulation. The 1991 nickel, like many coins, was produced in large quantities to meet the demands of daily commerce. As such, most of these coins would have been used and worn down through the usual process of circulation. However, certain nickels, often those stored carefully in mint sets or hoarded by collectors, survived in pristine condition, preserving their sharp details and luster. The combination of these factors, the rarity of the double die errors and the preservation of some coins in mint condition, has made the 1991 nickel one of the most highly sought-after coins in the numismatic world. These factors also help explain why some 1991 nickels are worth far more than their face value. The rare double die varieties, especially those in exceptional condition, can command prices that reach into the tens of thousands of dollars, with some examples fetching as much as $118,000 at auction. The value of the 1991 nickel has steadily increased over the years, thanks in part to the increasing interest in coin collecting and the growing awareness of rare minting errors. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the popularity of coin collecting surged as more people began to appreciate the historical significance and investment potential of rare coins. The rise of the internet and online auction sites has also played a role in expanding the market for rare coins, allowing collectors from around the world to bid on and acquire valuable pieces. In addition to its rarity, the 1991 nickel has become a symbol of the intersection between American history and the world of numismatics. As one of the last coins to feature the classic Jefferson/Monticello design before changes were made in the 2000s, the 1991 nickel represents a moment in time when the country was on the cusp of the digital age, yet still grounded in its traditional values. For collectors, owning a 1991 nickel, particularly one with the coveted double die error or in mint condition, is more than just owning a piece of currency. It's a connection to a specific time in American history, a time when small, seemingly insignificant objects like coins could hold immense value. If you happen to come across a 1991 nickel, it's important to take a closer look. While most of the coins minted that year are worth only 5 cents, those that possess the rare minting errors or have been preserved in flawless condition may hold hidden value. For those lucky enough to find a double die 1991 nickel, the potential reward could be substantial, an incredible investment in a small piece of history that continues to captivate the imaginations of collectors worldwide. Today, the 1991 nickel remains one of the most valuable and sought-after coins from the late 20th century. Its rarity, the allure of its minting errors, and its connection to a pivotal moment in American history have all combined to make it a standout piece in the world of coin collecting. And while most people might think little of a nickel when they find it in their pocket, for the dedicated numismatist, the 1991 nickel represents the potential for something far more remarkable, an opportunity to own a rare treasure worth as much as $118,000. In 1999, the United States was nearing the end of the 20th century, a time of rapid change and cultural transformation. The world was on the cusp of the new millennium, and with that came a sense of both excitement and uncertainty. People were busy celebrating the dawn of a new era, and yet, there was a sense of trepidation surrounding the much-talked-about Y2K bug, a computer glitch that many feared would disrupt everything from personal computers to critical infrastructure. Economically, the U.S. was in the midst of an unprecedented period of prosperity. The country was experiencing an economic boom fueled by the rise of technology and the internet, and unemployment was at its lowest levels in years. The world was increasingly interconnected, and the role of technology in society seemed poised to expand exponentially. Amid all the global change and anticipation for the future, there were still certain constants that grounded everyday life. One of these constants was the U.S. Mint, continuing its tradition of producing coins that people used in their daily transactions. Among these coins was the 5-cent piece, more commonly known as the nickel. In 1999, the nickel remained one of the most frequently used coins in the U.S. economy, just as it had been for over a century. But little did the public know that this seemingly ordinary coin would eventually capture the interest of collectors, ultimately becoming worth a surprising $104,000. To understand how the 1999 U.S. nickel came to be so valuable, we need to explore its design, minting process, and the series of events that led to its rare and coveted status among coin enthusiasts. The 1999 nickel continued to feature the classic designs that had been in place for several decades. On the obverse, the head side, of the coin, the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, still graced the face of the nickel. Jefferson's portrait, designed by Felix Schlag, had been in circulation since 1938 and had become a fixture in American coinage. Jefferson was chosen to represent the nickel for his significant role in American history, as the author of the Declaration of Independence and the leader who oversaw the Louisiana Purchase, which expanded the size of the United States and helped define the future of the nation. On the reverse, the tail side, of the 1999 nickel, the design featured Jefferson's home, Monticello, which had been used since 1938 as well. This design, created by John R. Sinek, the U.S. Mint's chief engraver, depicted Monticello in great detail, showcasing its neoclassical architecture and Jefferson's vision of a grand, democratic America. The reverse design had remained unchanged for decades, serving as a reminder of Jefferson's lasting legacy. As with previous years, the composition of the 1999 nickel consisted of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This combination provided the coin with the familiar silver-like appearance and durability that made it ideal for widespread circulation. But while the design and composition of the 1999 nickel may have seemed familiar to most people, there was something behind the scenes in the minting process that would turn this seemingly ordinary coin into a collector's dream. Throughout the 1990s, the U.S. Mint had begun experimenting with new techniques and dyes to streamline the coin production process. While the vast majority of coins were struck flawlessly, there were occasional minting errors that would make certain coins stand out from the rest. In 1999, a particularly rare minting error would help the 1999 nickel attain its remarkable value. The error in question involved a misalignment during the minting process, which caused certain 1999 nickels to be struck with an offset or double die. The doubling effect on the coin was subtle but noticeable, and it would become a key feature in the coin's collector appeal. The error occurred when the dies used to strike the coins became misaligned during production. This misalignment resulted in a doubled image of the design elements on the coin. The most noticeable feature of this error was the doubling of the letters on the obverse, particularly the word Liberty, as well as the date, 1999. This error created a coin that looked almost as though it had been struck twice, resulting in a slightly distorted image that set it apart from other nickels minted in that year. To the untrained eye, this error might not have been immediately obvious, but to the experienced coin collector, the double-die 1999 nickel quickly became a sought-after rarity. Minting errors, particularly those as unique as this one, have long been a focal point for collectors who are always on the lookout for specimens that stand out from the norm. It didn't take long for numismatists to recognize the value of these double-die 1999 nickels, and word spread within the coin collecting community. Coins with minting errors are always in high demand, especially when they are as subtle and unique as this one. The double-die 1999 nickel wasn't the only variation to catch the attention of collectors, though. As with all coins produced in large quantities, there were some that were simply better preserved than others. While most of the 1999 nickels would have been spent in daily transactions and worn down by the wear and tear of circulation, there were a select few that remained in pristine condition. Coins that are carefully stored, uncirculated, and free from the usual marks of handling can often fetch a premium price on the open market. For those nickels that were struck in particularly high quality, the combination of their rarity and flawless condition made them even more valuable to collectors looking to complete their collections. The demand for these error coins and high-quality specimens grew steadily over the years, and it wasn't long before the 1999 double-die nickel became one of the most sought-after coins in the world of numismatics. As collectors began to pay attention to the growing value of these coins, auctions for the rare nickels began to see sky-high bids. In fact, some of the 1999 double-die nickels, in mint condition, were eventually auctioned off for staggering amounts, with one coin fetching an incredible $104,000. But what made the 1999 double-die nickel worth so much? A combination of factors contributed to the extraordinary value. First, the rarity of the error itself played a significant role. It's believed that only a small number of double-die 1999 nickels were minted, making them exceptionally rare. Secondly, the condition of the coin played an even more critical role. Coins that have been well preserved, with sharp details and minimal signs of wear, are far more valuable than those that have been in circulation for years. The 1999 double-die nickels that remained in pristine condition were often treated as valuable artifacts, with collectors eager to get their hands on them. Additionally, the growing interest in coin collecting, fueled by the rise of online auction platforms and numismatic forums, allowed collectors from all over the world to discover and bid on rare coins that they might otherwise have missed. The global coin market expanded in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, and as awareness of the 1999 double-die nickel spread, so too did its value. So, how can a regular coin like the 1999 nickel become worth such a hefty sum? It all comes down to the rarity, the collector demand, and the story behind the coin. When a simple error during the minting process creates a piece that stands out from the hundreds of millions of coins produced each year, it becomes a unique artifact, one that attracts the attention of dedicated collectors who are willing to pay a premium for the privilege of owning a piece of history. Today, the 1999 double-die nickel stands as one of the most valuable modern coins, with some examples being worth up to $104,000. For collectors, this nickel is a shining example of how the smallest details can make the biggest impact in the world of coin collecting. What was once a common 5-cent piece has now become a rare and valuable treasure, cherished by numismatists and coin enthusiasts alike. So, the next time you come across a 1999 nickel, take a closer look, because you never know if it could be worth a small fortune.